Everybody, welcome back to my channel. Okay, today's video, I apologize for it being delayed, but today's video is going to be on American Income Life Insurance Company. Okay, so out of all the MLMs I've been in, this is my second most hated company. I absolutely detest American Income Life. I wasn't with them for a very long time, so this video is not going to be long. However, the stuff that I experienced, I feel is very shocking. It was very shocking at the time, and I want to share that information with you guys. Okay, so let's start with how I found the company. So in 2011, I was still with Arbonne, but I wasn't making any money on Arbonne, and I knew I wasn't going to make any money on Arbonne. So I was looking for, I guess, a kind of a career or a job or something to do that would be a little bit more fulfilling, or at least bring in some real money. So back in 2011, I was looking up jobs on Craigslist. How many of you guys remember Craigslist? It's still around, and I actually found some American Income Life Insurance advertisements for jobs, and they're very similar to the ones that I saw. So it was advertised as this job opportunity where you could make out $45,000 a year to start. And I'm like, oh, that is, at the time, that was quite a bit of money, especially for our family. It would have been a great, if it was real, it would have been a great way to make some real money. And it was for, I think it was for inside sales, and it was an insurance job. So I was curious, and I applied, and the guy who became my upline responded and called me in for like a phone interview. So they have this vetting process where they do this like phone interview, and then this quick like 5-minute interview, and then this group presentation. So I spoke on the phone, was like, okay, come on in, did a quick interview. You had to dress up businessy, like business casual or professional. Like they told you how to dress. You had to dress professional. Now, I wouldn't go into any job interview looking like a schmuck in my jammies, but okay, besides that. So, yes, I had to wear businessy clothes and go in. And I think at the time, I actually ended up buying a suit. Spent $50 buying a suit. Nice one. I still have it. I can't fit in it because I was a size 2 at the time. But anyway, so I went to this interview, and then after, it was like a very quick interview, some basic information. Am I motivated? Things like that, like really cringy stuff that looking back wasn't even, they didn't even ask me like what my sales qualifications were. And they just pitched it as like, this is inside sales, a way to make money, no cold calling type thing, which was a bunch of BS, and I'll explain why. But anyway, after this 5-minute interview, I go into this group presentation because that was part of the interview process. So, the group presentation. Remember in my first video, I kind of described the World Financial Group meeting? Yeah, it was like that. It was it was a small office building, not a small office building, but a small office in this medium-sized office building in Mission Hills, which is in LA or LA County, and is on this side of, if you take the 118 west to LA, towards LA, you get off on Sepulveda. It's like right around there. Anyway, so I'm, and it's not a bad part of town. There's a lot of houses in the area, but the building itself was kind of, it looked like it was preserved from like the 80s, 90s, like early 80s, 90s. The walls were pretty bare, but they did have like convention. They were like talking about their grand convention, international grand convention, and there was posters all about their convention coming up on the walls. And I'm like, this looks familiar. And then they talked about insurance and how you would get training. And I don't remember a lot of the details, but I do remember my impressions. And my impressions were that this seemed a little bit better opportunity, or a little bit less cringy, there was a lot less Woohooing, actually, there was no woohooing. They weren't doing what they were doing with World Financial Group, trying to get people excited. It wasn't like that. It was pretty straightforward. This is an insurance job. It's inside sales. We work with unions, things like that. So after they talk about how they work with unions and stuff like that, you go in to whoever brought you to this group presentation, and then I guess they further interview you, and then you sign up for training and stuff like that. Hi, honey. He's dancing in the background. So, how the training worked. You had to go in for training, and I actually found an old schedule that I had emailed to someone else, and I'm going to go over that because that email made me realize something, and it made me mad when I realized it today, or a couple days ago when I looked it up. Anyway, so it was mandatory meetings in the morning for training. It's about 10 to 12. So almost every day, my mornings were basically taken driving to LA and driving back. Fortunately, traffic wasn't that bad, but I had to pay childcare. I already had no money and I had to pay childcare. Okay. And then I had an afternoon job, thankfully, for a while. And I'm just remembering. Yeah. So how it worked is you had to pay your own classes and licensing fees. So they provided you information for the classes you could take, but you had to actually sign up for the classes and pay for them. And then you had to pay the state. I'm in California, so state of California, to take the test. None of that's cheap. It cost me around $400, give or take, in 2011 to take my classes, which were discounted through American Income, and then to take my test, which I passed. Yay! I was licensed, but I had to pay for all those expenses. Okay, at the time I thought, okay, that's not that bad. Now, comparing it to now as a lawyer, I have to pay for all my licensing fees, all my testing fees, all my applications just to have the right to sit at the bar exam. That's expensive. So I understand licensing fees, it's a legitimate expense. Okay. So free to apply, free to join. I think they charged me for a background check, but I'm not sure. I want to say they did, and then they were supposed to refund it, but don't quote me on that. But I remember something about that. Anyway, so had to do all that. Then they train you on their computer system. So you had to download the software onto your laptop, because in order to do the presentations with potential clients, you had to go through this whole spiel. It was several pages reading, talking about the insurance products, the benefits of the insurance products. So you actually had to be trained. They called it laptop training, if I recall correctly. And you had to be trained on the laptop to use the software and to sign up your clients or potential insurance policies or whatever. And then it would submit the policy to the company. So we did the practice runs, and then it was my job. And then everybody had to go through this. So I was with what's called the Cohen and Cohen office. So that's a branch, and the high up lines. So the people who ran that particular pyramid at the very top were a father-son duo called David Cohen and Michael Cohen. So Cohen and Cohen. And there you had to, they made it seem so like official. So you had to go to their corporate leadership offices in Wilshire, off Wilshire Boulevard, actually really close to where my law school is. And you had to, your final test was to convince one of the Cohens that you were worthy of being part of their downline. So I had to go through the whole sales pitch with Micah, the son, and I had to basically, he had to throw every objection at me, and I had to pass. I passed. Of course I passed. I'm pretty sure in real world I did pretty poorly, but I passed. So whatever. I was licensed. I passed this final test. and I became a licensed agent, and then I started selling. Hold on one second. Okay, so I had to, and I got my training done. What they didn't tell you is after you're done with that, you still had mandatory meeting times. So we had mandatory weekly meetings. And not only mandatory weekly meetings, we had mandatory phone calls. Okay, so how it worked with sales. You had to, so remember what I said about them being working with unions? Well, they would give you these accidental death benefits, little certificates, and you had to call the people named on the certificates and make appointments with them. And it was mandatory to do that every Thursday afternoon and night to make your phone calls and make your appointments, and to call these people and try to basically convince them, hey, we want to give you your certificate. We have these benefits for you that your union worked out for you. And then you're supposed to try to upsell them when you get in the door. So it ends up being door-to-door sales, and it is cold calling, because even though they claim these people are leads and stuff, really you're calling them and they don't really know who you are. They may or may not be expecting your call. And we'll talk about some of the leads. So you had to make these phone calls, and you had to stay as late as 10. And what they really wanted you to do, they really, really wanted you to call these people as many times as possible. If you get a voicemail, don't leave a message. Hang up and call again, and call and call and call and call. And then after you're done calling and you get nowhere with your phone calls, some people actually had no answer machines, so it would ring for eternity. So you'd have to hang up and try again, or move on and come back to them. And it was exhausting. I hate being on the phone. I hate phone calling unless it's part of my job, but I don't like cold call, and I don't like cold calling sales. And one of the things they advertised was inside sales, no cold calling. And it was like a bait and switch, and I hated it. I just hated it. So you get your foot in the door. You're supposed to upsell them using the software. When people, they also gave you leads. So when you would call these people, it turns out that some of the leads were people who either had passed away, moved away, and there was no forwarding email, or it was completely the wrong number. So the number was wrong. So the leads that they gave you were dried up, used up, or completely outdated. So they promised you leads, they gave you old leads. They promised you inside sales, they gave you cold calling. And I didn't like it. The other aspect that I really hated was you had to get permission, special permission to work from home. So they advertise this as a great opportunity that you can do in your free time, that you can do anywhere, but you had to have permission. So they had complete control of your schedule. They wanted you in the office at the trainings. They wanted you in the office at the meetings. None of this was paid, and you had to work long days. So the next part, it gets worse. The next part is after you completed your licensing, after you completed that final test with Mr. Cohen, you now had to do field training. Field training is where you go out and you observe your upline, your immediate upline, in the field, watching as they do sales. They called it door knocking. So something that was supposed to be a great opportunity to provide insurance for people turned into door-to-door sales. So you had to do door knocking, and you had to train with your upline for about a week, 2 weeks, however long it was. And for the first part of it, you had to just watch them make the sales on their own clients and their own certificates. And then after that, they start to transition. So now they're helping you. So now it's you have to take the lead and start talking to the clients on the appointments that you set up, and they'll give you even if it was your upline's lead, they'll give you that business. So they'll let you write the policy and you'll get the credit for that policy. Oh, so that happened. I think I made a grand total of actual 3 signups with my upline, and one of them canceled while we were in the middle of driving to the next appointment. So that sucked. And I'll explain about the commission structure in a little bit. Sorry, I have a little guy right here next to me. He's kicking. Hold on one second. That little guy was kicking the laptop. That's not good. All right. So back to where I was. So we would do, he would let me write the business. And I think I said the one canceled. So what happened was after that is after I was done training with my upline, I had to now go by myself. So once my field training, which lasted about 2 weeks, ended, I was on my own. Now, the area we were primarily in was in like downtown LA, San Fernando Valley, but like the worst parts. So I had to go driving around LA, downtown LA, not downtown, but San Fernando Valley, LA County, in the worst parts, going door-to-door sales, trying to convince people who I had called or who didn't pick up the phone that I had these certificate benefits for them and to let me in the door. Okay. So, and the other thing they told you was that you had to work weeknights and weekends. So I'm thinking, wait a second. You go from inside sales advertising to cold calling. You go from this great opportunity to deal with clients to door knocking, and now I have to do this on the nights, the weeknights after people are off of work, and weekends. So when am I supposed to actually have time to build any type of income in order to spend time with my family? This is starting to turn into something that I didn't actually sign up for. So they get your foot in the door by advertising this great opportunity, and then they bait and switch you. So I was only in for 4 months, but this was heck on a stick. I mean, it was terrible. So how did you have to manage your time? So I already covered that you had to mandate your hours. They took complete control of your schedule. It was so bad that one day I had to attend this meeting with David Cohen, the top of the pyramid. And Mr. Cohen was doing like a meeting, sales pitch, recruit meeting. And so all the branches had to bring in their newest recruits. Me, I was the newest in our branch. And I don't remember what Mr. Cohen was saying at all, but I do remember what happened at the end. After the meeting, because I had come in late, I went in with my uplines, just kind of tucked myself in the back, standing room only. It was a conference room, a large conference room in the Wilshire Boulevard building. But it was, everybody was at the conference table and then the rest were standing around. And so I got there late. The meeting ends. Everybody's shaking his hands, whatever. And then somebody in a cross-line branch lectures his team loudly. He's yelling at them. Not a single one of them was late. I was the only one who was late, and I was in a different team. He's yelling at them, literally shaking his finger that no one is ever to be late for any meeting with Mr. Cohen. And I knew he was addressing me without saying it, which is why he was yelling so I could hear it. So I was already stressed out. I wasn't making any money. I'm in door-to-door sales that I absolutely hate. And I'm getting lectured by somebody who doesn't have the courage to face me and tell me to my face. So I was upset. I started crying. And I'm just like, you know what? To my upline, don't talk to me. You know, I'm upset. Don't talk to me. So I'll never forget that. because that was BS. I hope that person is not making any money now. Maybe I don't hope that, but I'm bitter still about that because that stuck. There was also a lot of hero worship. David Cohen and Micah Cohen were looked up at as these amazing, I mean, they're lauded on the American Income Life Insurance website, but they were looked up as these amazing, oh my gosh, you can shake hands with a millionaire types. It's ridiculous. You think it's not as bad as hero worshiping Gary Young, but it was pretty bad. Oh my God, I think I even made a cringy Facebook post about how I shook hands with a millionaire, and I'm looking like I live in a town in Southern California that is surrounded by multi-million-dollar mansions. I live within 10 to 15 miles of Jeffree Star. I mean, I live within a couple miles of Britney Spears. I'm surrounded by multimillionaires. I'm sure I have shooken the hands, or however you pronounce the word. I'm pretty sure I have met many millionaires, and I have. So I'm like, what made this pyramid schemer special? Looking back, I'm like, that was the cringiest Facebook post of 2011, I gotta say. So cringy on me. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'll show you I'll pull up the email and I'll read the meeting times. And okay, let me talk about the meeting times. I'm gonna pull up my email, so I have to look down at my screen. It's right here in my Yahoo. I have it right here. And why did this make me so mad? It's because, so this was September. It's not raining tacos. Sorry. So this was September 21st, 2011. Monday, 10:30 to 12:30, meeting AIL. Tuesday, 11 to 2, training. Wednesday, 11 to 2, training. Thursday, 11 to 2, training. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm either free all day or I have field with AIL all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, why did this email make me mad? Hold on one second. Why did this make me mad? Because I realized that the person, so I had given the schedule to actually a person for whom I had applied a job. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. So I had applied for a job for a lady who was working a business, a real business, small business out of her home, and she needed help in her office. So she had asked me to send her my schedule to see if the schedule that I had would mesh with the schedule she had. Well, turns out this lady, this person, this gentleman, I'm not going to say who it is, started a multi-million-dollar tech company, and which went big in the last couple of years. And at the time, I had applied to help this person with whatever office stuff they needed in the home office. I could have, I don't know, I felt like I gave up a real opportunity to help somebody start a real business who could have been a good thing to put on my resume. Like, I did this and I worked for this person. That could have been amazing on my resume. Instead, I'm stuck with American Income Life Insurance Company, and I let a real legitimate opportunity pass me by because of this. So and I didn't actually realize that I had let a real opportunity slide until very recently, as in 3 days ago when I was looking back at emails. So you can bet that not only am I mad that I lost out on a real job with real money, I lost out on a real opportunity to get in and help a real legitimate business owner work on a real legitimate business. So that's on me. Even if that home office job went nowhere for me, that's fine. I could still say I had a real job. I helped somebody work on a real business opportunity on their real business, and I did my job well. I can't say that with American Income Life Insurance Company. And that is on me. we had to memorize scripts. So part of our training is we had to memorize scripts. We had this union benefit sheet for this accidental death and dismemberment certificate. And my upline, my immediate upline, told me that this certificate, he waved it in front of me. He's like, this is gold, because this is going to get you in the door, your foot in the door, and it's going to get you a potential for sales. So you got to treat it like gold. That literally is what he told me. And I already talked about how dried up all the leads were. Other ways to get in the door. If it wasn't with the union individuals, then the other ways to get in the door, I have my notes right here, was through child safe kits. So child safe kit is what you use. You take a picture, your most recent picture of your child, fingerprints, identifying marks, things like that. You write it on this kit. So if something, God forbid, happens, the children get kidnapped, they get lost, something happens, you can all you do is you're a grieving parent, you hand this to the police, and bam, they can go out and try to find your child with the information. So because I had access to my old job, I was able to put a thing of child safe kits in the office, or in the observation room, or wherever the parents would be or the families would be, and they would have access to, so they could just grab one, and they could either ask me for information, I could deliver it and try to upsell or whatever. So that's other ways to get leads. And then, of course, any other leads they got for you. Again, whether it was the accidental death certificates or whether it was the sheet with names, there was a lot of people who passed away, wrong number, didn't live there anymore, phone disconnected. And there were actually a lot whose phone number just rang for eternity. So finally, I ended up getting permission, because I'm like, you know what? I want to work from home. I signed up to work from home. I want to work from home. So I told them, my upline, and I managed to do all my phone calls from home one Thursday. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with work. It was crazy. So let's talk a little bit about how I quit. And then we're going to talk about the lawsuits. Yes, I said lawsuits. So when I quit, I was driving home one Saturday after, I think it was my first week on the field. It was either my first or second week on the field by myself. I had finished a little early, like in the afternoon, like two in the afternoon. I had finished early, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I am spending all my time driving on a weekend. I'm not making a single cent for all the time I'm spending for this company, and I miss my family. Oh, and one time I actually got stranded. My car tire popped in the middle of the San Fernando Valley, so I ended up waiting at a McDonald's for my husband to come get me. Yeah, that was fun. It wasn't fun. It wasn't bad. The McDonald's I was at was pretty clean. It was nice. The people were nice. There was nothing really wrong with the area. I got stranded and I hated it. So when I told them I was quitting, I'm like, you know what? This is just not for me. And the guy, so my upline's upline, the one who ran this particular office, he was like, what did he say? You'll never find another opportunity where you're going to make more money. Where have we heard that before? So I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I would rather just do things that I like. Like, what did I say? I wanted to do makeup and stuff like that. I'm like, I'll just do makeup and sewing and art and go to law school, because this is not for me. So I quit. I'm like, I walked out the door that day after having that conversation. I'm like, bye. But it wasn't bye, because let's go to my email again. So I'm looking down because I have another email here. And I was like, I wrote business for you guys over a month ago. I quit, I don't know, in end of October, November, beginning of November. And I'm like, I want all the paperwork I signed. I want you guys to mail me and fax me every single document that I signed with this company. And the lady shot back, oh, all the paperwork was shredded right after we removed you from our system. And I'm like, excuse me. Oh, now I was mad. Red flags were signing up. I'm like, excuse me, how's that legal? I haven't even been paid yet. And she's like, payment? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I must be confusing you with someone else, because the only reason we keep your paperwork is if you sign business for us. I'm like, yeah, I signed business for you guys. And then I think I even quoted them, like, let's see. I even quoted them the labor code. I can't find it. Of course I can't find it. Yeah, you have to send me. I'm going to call everybody. I was mad. Oh, I did hear it. It's in the email to my uplines. I quoted the labor code. I'm like, where an employee voluntarily quits his or her employment without advance notice, all commission wages that can be reasonably calculated at the time must be paid to the employee within 72 hours of termination of the employment relationship. That's labor code section 202. And then I actually sent them a PDF. I'm like, source, here's a PDF copy of that document. And I said, I quit for exactly this reason, that I have yet to see payment for the work. It's very hard to continue working without payment, and only $8 in the bank account. I was broke. Okay, these guys were bleeding me dry with mandated hours. I was broke. I had enough. And this was November 18th. Let's see. $8 in my account. Work is 1 hour one way away, and it's very driving intensive. Your demand on a person's time without proper compensation for that time seemed unethical to me. It's hard for me to continue working for you guys when you're not even compensating me for the demand, because they kept trying to tell you you're an independent contractor. Just because, and I'm going to say this right now, just because a legal agreement says you're an independent contractor does not mean you are. They got sued for exactly that complaint. And they settled out of court. And I found out about this, that the lawsuit started in 2009, and then they settled out of court in like 2000, somewhere between 2012 and 2015. And I got the check in the mail for the settlement in the end of 2014. So they settled before that. Because there's a lot of factors that go into determining if someone is an employee or an independent contractor. It's actually not cut and dry. And it's not necessarily fully legally defined. But there are lots of factors. One of the major factors in determining if someone is an employee or an independent contractor is control. So if they're mandating your hours and they're telling you you have to be somewhere, and you don't have the flexibility without permission to do something that you think you need to do, and they're basically saying, you need to show up at this time. You need to be on time for these meetings. Don't you dare show up late for a meeting. They're exercising control of your time. And that makes you an employee. It's one factor. There's several others. Another factor is independent contractors have a tendency to do things that are not necessarily closely related to what the business does. We were selling insurance for an insurance company. So we were selling what the company's primary business was, and their primary product was insurance, and that's what we were selling. So we were representing the company as insurance agents, selling insurance on behalf of the company with mandated hours. What does that sound like to you? Exactly. So they got sued, and that's not the first time. There's actually several lawsuits, and I think there's one now. So I'm going to link everything in the description box below. I'm looking at my notes, but I'm going to link everything. Oh, I forgot. So going back to the subject of treating employees like or independent contractors like actual employees, you had a sales quota in order to, even though they didn't specifically say you had a sales quota, they weren't going to let you work from home or decide your own hours until you hit a certain level of sales and or recruits. And they weren't even going to let you recruit until you hit a certain level of sales. Yeah, I already covered all that. So these are the lawsuits that I found. 2009 to 12 ended in a settlement. 2014 ended in a settlement. 2018 ended in a settlement. And these all have, let's see, they all have the same cause of action. They all have, you're treating us like an employee and you're not compensating us like an employee. Because remember, they're not paying you if they're calling you an independent contractor and saying you are responsible for your own taxes and your own expenses. It's just a way. It's just a way for companies to take advantage of you and free marketing. If they think that you think it's a good opportunity, you're not going to question it. And that's what I think American Income Life Insurance did to me. That's what they did to the people who were the plaintiffs in these cases that settled. And it looks like I found a law firm that says they're doing another lawsuit on this exact issue because it's a new form. They have a new form up. So I'm going to link everything in the description box below. But that is my story with American Income Life Insurance Company. It only lasted 4 months, August to November. It was not a pleasant time. I hated every second of it. It was bait and switch. It wasn't what they said it was. So I am just glad and thankful to be over it. But here's a fun fact. I'll throw this in for you. Because I was a licensed insurance agent with American Income Life Insurance Company and I tried to sell for the company, I have to put it on my moral character application. When it comes to the moral character application, so what is that? What am I talking about? The moral character application is the application you file with the state bar that says, I'm here, I am an honest person, and will you please let me sit for the bar exam? Will you please let me be a licensed attorney? You can't sit for the exam unless and until you file this application. And they're very thorough, and they want your entire work history. My life is pretty simple. It's always been pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of MLMs. All the ones that I'm doing a video series on, I'm an open book. That's going on my moral character because I tried to build a business with each and every one. So, yes, if you ever see somebody putting a network marketing company on their resume, don't dock them for it. If they had some skill and they learned something, whether or not they progressed, if they really tried to do something that they thought was real at the time and they're putting it on their resume, don't fault them for that. I have to put this on my moral character application because in the interest of honesty, I legitimately thought it was a business and I legitimately tried to make it work. I walked away because it wasn't a good opportunity, but I still have to put that on my moral character application. So, fun fact. In any case, that is all. I'm in the middle of researching my Young Living two-parter. There's a lot of information because there's a lot of years with Young Living. And there's just a lot of information. A lot of you guys actually know because of public awareness for the company and the founder, but there's a lot that has yet to be discussed. So I will go over that in my next video, 2 videos. Those will be coming hopefully within the next week. It's going to take a while to finish compiling information because as I walk back down memory lane and I look at old messages, I'm finding a whole bunch of new stuff and my memory is just getting jogged. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to forget. There's a lot of stuff I tried to forget. And so there's just a lot. So I will see you on the next video. Thank you. Please leave your questions. Please leave your comments. Please like. Please subscribe. Please share. I hope anybody who sees this will utilize whatever information they can find in the description box and make a decision for themselves on whether or not this is the right opportunity for them. American Income was not the right opportunity for me. And I make no bones about it. If I can save somebody from the nightmare I experienced, I'll be glad. Oh, before I go, bonus. There, I found an ad on Craigslist for American Income Life Insurance Company. They called it, the title says, Forbes 24th Happiest Companies to Work For. What? I was miserable. So I don't know how those Forbes lists work. Do you have to pay to be on them? I don't know. Leave your comments below, but I can tell you right now, it was miserable. This is for 2018. This job advertisement. Let's see. Here's what you have to be. You have to be, sorry, there's a baby in the background. You have to be a people person, comfortable with a fast-paced environment because there's a high turnover, self-starter, and coachable. Average compensation range is 40 to 60K, depending on your qualifications and performance. That's commission only, and they don't tell you. They say it's discussed in an interview and it's full-time employment. This is not an employment opportunity. This is a commission-only sales job that's going to take all your time. This company has been sued multiple times for treating its independent contractors like employees without paying them like employees. So beware. Then they talk about supervising manager, which is training new benefit reps. That's a sales agent. Ensuring your company approved system-based training is utilized. That's the software. Supervising the activity. You have to mandate them. Involvement in the recruitment process and assessment of new hires. No one's hiring. So be wary. Check it out. I'll leave that in the description box below, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.